Welcome to Retold, a Harry Potter podcast, a show where Harry Potter fans new and old can listen and relive the magic of the series through some guy just talking about the books and stuff. My name is Barry, and I am the some guy. Every week, I sit down with some other person, and we go through the Harry Potter books chapter by chapter in what is hopefully an entertaining and enjoyable manner. We also have a Quizzitch section to start the show each week where me and my host will see who knows more Harry Potter trivia. And at the end of our chapter discussions, we have a few extra sections where we talk about our favorite lines from the chapter, behind the scenes things, and so much more. This week, you will be listening to part 2 of my discussion with Jessie, where we discuss chapter 6 of book 1 of the series, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I usually do 2 chapters at a time with guests, but last week I told y'all that our conversation went really long, and I usually try to keep episodes less than an hour and a half, and our discussion was almost 2 hours. But some of y'all messaged me and said you wouldn't mind if I put out the whole 2 hours in one episode, so I'll keep that in mind for future episodes. Anyway, the only house elf keeping thing I have to tell y'all this week is that there will be 2 times that you'll hear me pop back into the episode. One is to ask y'all your Quizzitch question for the week, and the other is to fix our Transfiguration section. I've said it before, but in case this is your first episode, we have a Transfiguration section near the end of each episode. And when I first started recording these, the idea for the Transfiguration section was for me and my guest host to talk about what we would change from the chapter. Later, I decided that was dumb and changed it to what did the movies change from the chapter? So yeah, you'll hear me pop back in and fix that. And that'll be the last time I have to do that, because after this episode, I actually changed it in real time. And just a heads up, in the last 8 or 10 minutes of the episode, the air conditioner kicks on in the room we were in. I've edited it out as much as possible, but you can still hear it just a little, so my apologies. I recorded a lot of the episodes in this particular room that turned out to be not the best for recording, but good news is that we are only in that room for just a few more episodes, and by the end of book 1, it'll sound so much better. But thank you for hanging with me through this time. Anyway, that's all I got. Like always, if you want to reach out to me and send me some owl post or a howler, you can do that at theretoldpodcast@gmail.com, or you can message me on Instagram at theretoldpodcast. Without further ado, let's get to the show.
I know Hufflepuff.
I don't care how big they are. Can we find all this in London?
If you know where to go.
Not that you need it, eh, Potter?
Wingardium Leviosa. Wicked.
Last word is Caput Draconis.
This is light.
Thought you ought to know.
So, welcome back. We're doing chapter 6 now, the journey from platform 9 3/4. And before we start with our overall thoughts, we're going to do more Quizzitch. More quiz. So we left off last time. Again, this is the quiz part of the show. Follow along, everybody. I hope you enjoyed these Quizzitch questions too. But again, this is to see who knows more about Harry Potter, me or the world. And so at the moment, last week we tied 2-2, which means that as far as the scale goes, it was...
You're only beating the world by 1.
I'm only beating the world by 1. Before it was... I'm going to put the others down. Me versus my guest host. Now, Jessie, kick us off. Questions for this week.
What is one of the chocolate frog cards that Ron is missing in his collection?
Agrippa.
Nice.
I was going to ask you that same question.
Well, I beat you to it.
Rats. You gotta come up with it. Okay. See, what is the kind of meat that Ron does not like? Mama makes him a sandwich.
Oh, I know this.
He's like, she always forgets. It's because she has a lot of kids, though. And I like that he defends her in that moment.
It's like roast. No. What's it called? Hold on.
Can you see it in your head?
Yes.
The kind of meat that it is?
Yes.
It would trigger my wife's trypophobia.
I know. It's like, no, there's a certain name for it.
Yeah.
Corned beef or hashed beef?
That's correct. Corned beef.
Yes, okay, that's right.
Nice. What's your next one?
Not from this chapter.
Okay.
But the next one. What are the few words Albus Dumbledore says before the entrance ceremony feast?
I have to get all of them?
This is one of my favorite lines.
Can I just get one of them?
If you get 3, because they're weird words. If
There's
you
only
get
like 3 of them. 3. He says nitwit. That's all I got is nitwit. It says nitwit.
Nitwit, blubber, oddment, tweak. He says 4.
Okay, oddment, tweak. I knew
Oddment and tweak.
I thought it was like tink or something, but yeah, tweak. Okay, so
Yes.
I got that one wrong. Very good, very good. Name one of the flavors of beans that Harry eats.
Oh, that Harry eats. Does he eat grass?
He does eat grass.
Yes!
Good job. Okay. And then one more question each.
All right. How many staircases are there at Hogwarts?
Oh my gosh.
The funny thing is, I knew this one before I reread the book.
Give me multiple choice.
Okay, I'll give you plus or minus 5. I can. Okay,
And look like A,
it's-
B, C, or D.
A, B, C, or D. Okay.
You can write it down if you want.
All right. A is 97. B is 142. C is 162. And D is 186.
So it's either 97, 142, 162, or 186. I'm going 162.
Nope.
What is it?
It's 142.
Dadgummit. Dadgummit. Oh no. The odds could shift in this episode. Oh.
I better get this one right.
I know. I have such an easy question for you. Oh my goodness. Okay. What animal does Jordan have? Lee Jordan.
Lee Jordan.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to give you a hint now.
I know.
Because I'm mean.
It's one of the 3 you're allowed, right?
I'm not saying anything.
Okay. It's sad because I'm like, I just read this last week, but I have mom brain and I forget things so easily now. I think he has some kind of cat, I think.
That's your final answer?
Yeah.
He has a tarantula.
Oh, that's right. Lee Jordan's tarantula. Oh, I remember that now. Oh, no.
Okay, so the world does not know more than me. The world knows just as much as
I
me.
know.
But you
Well,
did
the
great.
problem is, too,
That
I'm
grass
like,
call out was awesome.
yes. The problem is, I'm like, I know this, and as soon as the answer's said, I remember the line, I remember the whole paragraph that it's from. But you're also, okay, I'm 12 weeks postpartum, and your brain doesn't work, okay?
And I will take advantage of that.
I'm like, if you got me when I wasn't, like, losing brain cells to make up for nurturing instincts, then I would have gotten it, but...
That is something I will never have to deal with.
Yep.
So I feel whatever sympathy I can.
And before we get rocking with the rest of our show, I figured I haven't even done like a little score update. You know, this is like episode 4 now, and I haven't even told y'all like the score. I just kind of say it in the episode and just assume everybody knows. I just said it was tied. It's 8-8. So if you're keeping track at home, that's the score for me versus my guest hosts, 8-8. Also, it's time for your Quizzitch question. I was wondering whether to make it hard or easy, and I wasn't sure. So my philosophy when debating between 2 things is usually to just do both. So here are your 2 questions for this week as listeners. First, and I consider this one hard. What delicious food item was Goyle reaching for before Scabbers bit him? All right? Again, you won't know that from the movie. It'll just be in the book. Second, how many students does Hagrid say can fit into a boat at one time? So those are your 2 questions. What delicious food item was Goyle reaching for before Scabbers bit him? And second, how many students does Hagrid say can fit into a boat at one time? Those are your 2 questions. Write into theretoldpodcast@gmail.com or DM me at theretoldpodcast on Instagram to submit your answers. Okay, back to the show.
Well, let's hop into it now. So, because we got to get you back to your baby. Chapter 6, The Journey from Platform 9 3/4. Overall thoughts. You got any overall thoughts to kick us off?
I mean, this is where my love of trains started. I fell in love
trains.
with the Hogwarts Express, and now I do. I like trains.
And you got a little Hogwarts Express that goes around your Christmas tree.
Yes, I do. I'm going to set it up. I'm so excited because I'm like, I have a son now, and I'm going to set him, and I'm going to set the train up, and then he can watch the train. It's going to be so cute. And the train, it's like, anything off the trolley, dears? It says the movie line, so.
They announced a Hogwarts Express experience.
Oh, yes.
You know, like they have the Forbidden Forest experience and all that. I don't know what it means. I listened to a Harry Potter podcast. They were like, we don't know what it means, but we'll all see together whenever it does come out.
I hope that they're going to choose like a railway, and then just like make it into the Hogwarts Express and have
the Blue Ridge one that's right close to us.
That would be good. I would go to that. That would be so fun.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I love how it, what did I write? I love how it shows Harry's goodness, because there's a lot of good moments where he like has sympathy for people and cares about others. You see his internal monologue. I love it, his goodness. And I love how much we learn about all the Weasleys so quickly from just a few sentences about each. So anyway, let's kick it off. Harry's got to suffer one more month at the Dursleys, and it's no fun. Dudley is scared of him, and everyone gives him the silent treatment for that whole month. He's got his owl, though, who he named Hedwig.
Though he does say this is an improvement.
He does say it's an improvement, but it's also kind of depressing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I agree. So it's the best awful thing that could happen, I guess. Dudley's scared of him. People give him he's got an owl, though, who he named Hedwig, and she brings him lots of dead mice. Yummy. Good girl, Hedwig. On the day before he's got to go, Harry thinks, I should probably make travel plans, which I get that. And he goes downstairs where they're all watching Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune. It says some quiz show. I like to picture they're watching Wheel of Fortune. He clears his throat, and Dudley screams and runs away. I picture that scene where it's like, what is that at the office, where they're like, hit, scream, and run. And he like hits him, and runs away. That's what I see. And Dudley just running away. But Harry asks Vernon for a ride, and Vernon grunts, and that apparently means yes. And then, okay, so you may have heard this a little bit. I sent you the rough cut of the first podcast episode. I talk about it a little bit in the second one. I do not like Vernon. I just think he's funny sometimes. And you know, in this, I like this moment where he makes a joke about flying carpets. He says, funny way to get to wizard school, the train. Magic carpets all got punctures, have they?
Yeah. I mean, like,
solid.
Obviously, Vernon Dursley is not a good guy, but as far as character goes, he's a great character.
Yeah.
He's so funny and interesting, and, like, you can hate him, but you're like, okay, also, this is some good writing.
Yeah, I think maybe, hopefully in the TV, and I loved the actor that played him. I think the directing, though, made him even worse of a person. It's kind of like how the directing made Snape more enjoyable in the movies. I think the directing of this TV show could potentially make Vernon like more comical, rather than.
I don't know. He's pretty
abusive.
bad. I mean, but he is pretty abusive. But
Who?
Vernon.
Yeah, in both of them for sure, and he's abusive in this too. But I get from this read through so far, I get such comical vibes, much more than anything else.
Yes, I agree.
So he makes the joke, solid joke. Harry tells them he has to go to platform 9 3/4. 9 3/4. Vernon gets really hyped about that because he thinks they're playing a trick on Harry. He goes, I'll show you. There ain't going to be nothing there.
I know. It gets him really excited about taking Harry to the train station.
Vernon says he's got to go to London anyway to remove Duddy's tail. So it works out all good. Harry gets up super early the next day and gets ready and just waits in his room. Eventually, they load up the car, and Dudley has to sit next to Harry. It says Petunia has to, like, force Dudley to do that. When they get to King's Cross Railway Station, Vernon, nice guy that he is, loads up Harry's stuff and pushes it for him. Harry thinks this is uncharacteristically nice of him, kind of odd, and it is, because in reality, all Vernon wanted to do was take him to platforms 9 and 10 and point out, hey, buddy, there's no 9 3/4. Like, what does he say? He's like,
don't seem to have built it yet, do they?
That's right. They don't seem to have built 1 there, or 9 there, 10 there. They don't got yours. And the Dursleys drive off and laugh at Harry as they leave, which makes me wonder, how do, like, these train stations work? Because, like, I'm picturing, like, in the movie, you can't see the parking lot from the train station. So, like, how did Harry see them drive away? I don't know. Like, at the MARTA, you can kind of see it.
Well, yeah, so the platform can kind of, like, overlook the parking lot if there's a windows, you know, because it can be raised. The train railways are often raised into the station, so he could see Maybe the parking lot below. I don't know. I've been to Universal. I haven't been to London, so
One day,
I don't know.
one day. When this podcast gets super famous,
Oh, you'll take me to London?
I'll take you to London.
Thank
We'll
you.
go there. It'll be great. So Harry starts to have a little panic attack because he can't find the train. He asks a guard, but the guard thinks he's being silly and a time waster. Harry does have a clever idea about the ticket stand. I liked this. Where did I put this down? He says Hagrid must have forgotten to tell him something. You had to do like tapping the third brick on the left to get into Diagon Alley. He wondered if he should get out his wand and start tapping the ticket inspector's stand, which is as good as idea as any.
Yeah. I also feel like, I mean, this was a big oversight on Hagrid's part. Like, you forgot to mention, you have to walk through the secret wall to get to the train. Like, what if he had never seen the Weasleys? He would have just been out of luck.
Yeah, that pick-me-up was a little bit more than a pick-me-up. But before he tries to mess with the ticket stand, he hears people say Muggle. And he turns around and he sees a family of gingers with trunks like his and an owl. Harry gets real hyped about the owl. He's like, yeah, there's an owl. So Harry's like, jackpot. The youngest girl in the family wants to go to Hogwarts, but Mama says she's too young. She tells the oldest boy that he better go first, and Harry watches, and he's like, I'm going to keep a good watch on this guy and see what he does, and maybe I'll learn. But as the boy runs off, he disappears behind a group of tourists. When the tourists move out of the way, the boy's gone. He's like, frick. So then the boys, Fred and George, tease their mama before they go, and it's iconic lines, Fred, you're next. I'm not Fred, I'm George. Can't honestly, woman.
You call yourself aw mother.
Only joking. I am Fred. So they go off. They seem to just disappear when they go. So Harry is lost, and he walks up to the mama, and Mama's like, "First time?" He says, "Yep." She tells Harry just to run at the wall in front of them, and I like this. She says, "If you're nervous, just do it faster. Just run faster." Doesn't make sense, but Harry's like, all right, and he does it. And he runs at the wall, and bam, he's in a new platform with a big old train. There it is, the bright, beautiful scarlet steam engine, the Hogwarts Express.
It is funny, though, that she says, like, you have to get through the wall, you have to believe that you're going to, and then Harry's like, I'm going to crash. He doesn't believe it all, and he still gets there somehow.
Harry starts looking for a place to sit on the train. He passes a boy named Neville looking for his toad that he's lost again. A boy named Lee seems to be showing off his tarantula.
Yeah.
Now, when I was first reading this, it just said, like, you see, like, a fuzzy leg, and I was like, that's got to be a tarantula. And then later it said, and I was like, oh, right. Shows off his tarantula. Harry finds an empty compartment, puts Hedwig in, but he can't lift his trunk in there. Mashal would not have that problem. Do you know what Mashal is?
No.
Okay, a very small group of listeners will get this. There's an anime out there called Mashal, and it's basically a Harry Potter parody.
Really?
It's hilarious. Jessie, it's the funniest anime I've ever watched. We share Crunchyroll. You'll probably see it on the Crunchyroll.
Well, I was about to say, if I can go watch it, I'm going to watch it.
Go watch it. It's hilarious. The tangent, real quick, but the premise of this show is that it's the complete opposite. Everybody can use magic. Picture Voldemort 1. Everybody can use magic. And if you're born without magic, they kill you. So magic users aren't allowed. You can tell somebody can use magic because they have a scar on their face, like a little mark on their face. Again, it's like very Harry Potter coded. And one day, this man finds a baby near the woods without a mark. And he's like, oh, they abandoned him, and he raises him as his own. He's like, when they find out he can't use magic, they're going to come kill him. The officials and all this. So his plan is he's going to make this kid ripped and strong as frick so he can defeat all magic users. The show opens up, and his name's Mashal. The show opens up with Mash bench pressing 600 pounds super fast. It's absolutely hilarious. He's super strong. There's a maze. There's a talking sphinx. There's a Dumbledore looking guy. The school looks like Hogwarts. It's Harry. They even have Quidditch.
That is
they don't call it Quidditch, but they have Quidditch. And I could go on an hour talking about this. I'm not going to.
I'm gonna go home and watch it.
But you got to watch it. It's hilarious. It's the funniest show I've ever seen. And his voice is so monotone the whole time. It makes it even better. Anyway, there's your Mash shout out. I'll expect advertisement money for it when that day comes.
So anyway, Mash would not have that problem lifting up his cart. The boys Fred and George are kind enough to help him, though. They see him struggling, and they're good boys, so they go help him. They notice his scar, and they ask if he's him. And Harry says, yes, I'm him. He almost like literally says it.
Question.
You know, he says, where, let's flip ahead. He says, he is, aren't you? What? Harry Potter. Oh, him? I mean, yes, I am. I'm him. The Gen Z translation of Harry Potter. So yeah, Harry's him. They're like cool, and their mama calls him and they leave. Harry, sneaky little guy that he is, says he half watches them outside of the compartment window. So he watches them and he spies on him from his window. The mom cleans Ron's nosy because he got some little black mark on it, and the twins make fun of him. Percy, the oldest, shows up, and the twins make fun of him too because he's like, oh, prefect's got to go up here. Oh, Percy, are you a prefect? We didn't know that. You should have said something once, twice. You said it a lot. Percy leaves. Mama tells him to have a good time, and I like this shift. She says to Percy, have a good term. And then she looks at the twins and she tells them not to blow anything up, like not to blow up a toilet. And they're like, that's a great idea. Thanks for that idea.
And they saved that idea the whole year.
That's right. Oh, I forgot. Yeah. So we get the sense that these boys are some rabble rousers. Anyway, they tell their mama they met Harry Potter, and little Ginny gets excited. Ooh. Mama feels sympathy for Harry. She's like, poor boy, he was so polite and all alone. Twins are like, let's ask him about you-know-who. And she says, don't you freaking do that. He's probably traumatized. And he is, yeah. They get on the train and say, I like this moment. I said last moment was the cutest moment of the book. This might be the cutest moment when they're like, because you've seen them like bullying their other brothers, but then they have this really sweet moment with Jenny where they're like, "Oh, Jenny, don't cry. We'll send you a toilet seat." And then the next saying, the train's going off, and it says she's running after them, crying and laughing at the same time. It's really sweet. So off goes the train. Harry starts to have a moment to himself, but then the parade of gingers continues, and the young boy Ron comes in and joins him. Says, "Sorry, everywhere else is full. Can I sit here?" Harry notices the mom didn't get the black mark off his nose. Come on, Mama Weasley. Twins show up, and they say they're going to go see Lee's tarantula. So yes, I was right. It was a tarantula leg, because I was predicting that when I was reading it, and then I thought, oh wait, it's a children's book. Mysteries aren't that hard. Before they go through, they introduce themselves to Harry, and they also introduce Ron. We hear their last name, Weasley, and then they go. Ron tries to be cool, just sit there nonchalant, but then blurts out, "Are you Harry Potter?" Harry's like, "Yep." Shows his scar, but says he doesn't really remember anything about it except a flash of green light. Don't beat yourself up about it, Harry. You were just a baby. How can you expect to remember that? Harry asks if all Ron's family are wizards, and Ron says, "Yep, but we do have an accountant in the family, and we don't really talk about him." Ron asks what muggles are like, and Harry's like, "I don't know about all muggles, but mine stink." They talk more about Ron's family, and we learn Ron is a little insecure about how awesome his older brothers are. It's a good moment. We get to learn a lot about rum. I read the word mom as I was looking at rum. Why is all the rum gone? No, we learn a lot about Ron in this moment. He says, he's insecure about that. Feels he won't be able to live up to his brothers and be able to distinguish himself from them. And Ron shows Harry his rat scabbers. Ron is embarrassed, but Harry says, "All good, my man. I was broke until last month." and I don't like this moment where it says that Harry basically tells him how awful his life was, and that cheers Ron up. I don't like how awful Harry's life is.
Well,
makes Ron happy.
I think it's funny because obviously, Harry is glued to this family of 5 on the platform because he's never had a family, and obviously the Dursleys aren't much of a family, and here's this happy family, and it's just the dichotomy of Harry having no one and then Ron having too much. And then Harry's like, well, let me tell you about not having anything, and then Ron's like, oh, maybe having too much is not so bad.
Yeah. So anyway, Harry drops a Voldy bomb And Ron freaks out. Harry says, bro, this is what I'm talking about. I don't even know what I don't know. I don't even know I'm not supposed to say that. And I bet everybody at school is going to be better than me. And now Ron comforts Harry. And he says there's lots of people at Hogwarts from Muggle families, and they do just fine. There's cows out in the field that they passed by. And I was upset that neither of them said moo or cows, because that's what you do. Later, the trolley woman shows up. Ron doesn't buy anything, but Harry flexes his cash, buys one of everything. Ron pulls out his corned beef Sammy that he hates, and as Harry eats his pumpkin pasty, Harry, the bro, asks for a trade, and they end up bonding over all the sweets. It's a nice moment. Harry's like, I want one of everything.
Which is funny because he's like, I'll trade you, and then neither of them eat the corned beef sandwiches.
Harry asks if chocolate frogs are real frogs. Ron's like, nah, but check that collectible card in there. Do you have any collectible chocolate frog cards, Jessie?
Do,
yeah?
yes.
Can you think of any of them?
I have like I have Ollivander, and then I have like Garrick the Wild or some super random one that's probably not right.
Oh, I'm so sad. I just remembered I was going to have us eat Birdie Bot's beans because I brought them.
Oh,
but they're in my car.
That would have been fun.
I was going to do that if whenever we got questions wrong.
Oh, I know. It's always, I'm not like a huge fan of Birdie Bot's ever flavored beans for the same reason Dumbledore. I'm like, I got a vomit flavored one once. It was nasty.
Which is the name of a wizard band or a not like in the book, but in the real world. In our world,
really?
There's there's a wizard parody band.
Oh, yes, yeah.
But yeah, collectible cards. I got a few too. Harry opens his frog, and his card is Albus Dumbledore, and we get a description of Dumbledore, and then we see his picture. I was upset the chocolate frog people did not include his high-heeled buckled boots, those cowards. We learned some cool facts about Dumby, among which is that he likes bowling. And Harry is freaked out when the Dumbledore on the card leaves. And Ron's like, yeah. Can't expect them to hang around all day, can you? But Harry says Muggle pictures, they don't move. They just stay there. And Ron finds that really weird. He says, do they? What? They don't move at all. Weird. And they have some Birdie Bots every flavored beans. And Ron says they mean every flavor. What is it? George swears he got a
bogey flavored
ones.
Though it just says booger when you're reading it in the American version. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Or yeah, I think it is booger. Yeah, it says booger.
Yeah, because I'm listening. Yeah, it does. I'm listening to Jim Dale.
Yeah.
Listening to the Jim Dale version, which is the British version, but I'm reading this one, the American. So some of the things like that are different. They have some Birdie Bot beans, normal and weird ones. Ron eats a sprout flavored one, and Harry eats a bunch. Jessie, what flavor do you think the funny gray looking one is? Don't look at the page.
It's like dust or something.
Pepper.
Oh yeah.
And so I thought that was I was reading this and I made a note about it as soon as it said
I would not
that he had the end of a funny gray one, and I was like, "Oh, what flavor could that be?" The end of the sentence says it's pepper, but I didn't get there before I took the note, and I was like, "It's got to be pepper," because when I stream a Harry Potter game, anytime I die, I'm like, "I've got to eat a Birdie Bot now." 9 out of 10 times, it's pepper. I've eaten so many of the pepper, and I hate it. It's disgusting.
Oh. Yeah, I know. That would be so gross.
It's awful. Crying Boy comes in and asks about his toad. They say they haven't seen it, and he leaves. And I like this self-aware moment from Ron. He says, don't know why he's so bothered. If I'd brought a toad, I'd lose it as quick as I could. And then he says, mind you, I brought Scabbers, so I can't talk. It's a good self-aware moment from an 11-year-old. Ron then says, want to see me try to turn Scabbers yellow? They're like, sure. So he pulls out his wand, and it looks rough. I didn't know that it would, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was this bad. I forgot that it says the unicorn hair is sticking out of the end of it. You can actually see the little white hair sticking out. Before he does the spell, though, a girl comes in with the Crying Boy and is basically like, yo, where's this kid's toad? I had a note that I was going to joke around, be like, where's this boy's toad? Right here. The toad voice. But I missed my chance. We learned the boy's name is Neville. Ron is like, chill. We said we didn't know where it was. The girl doesn't seem to care anymore. She sees Ron has his wand out, and she's like, yo, what magic can I do? Ron says the spell. And here's the thing. In that first episode of this podcast, Emily asked me the name of the spell. I got one of the words wrong. I always thought it was, sunshine. It says sunshine daisies, butter mellow. I thought it was bottom mellow.
Oh, really?
I mean, butter makes more sense because it's yellow.
I have no idea what a buttermellow is.
I don't
But
either.
I figure it was like a flower or something. I don't know.
Maybe he's telling the butter to mellow.
Mellow butter. Yummy.
So anyway, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been wrong this whole time.
But you said it in a British accent, so you couldn't tell you were wrong.
That's right. Ron says the spell doesn't work, and Hermione poops on his spell, says it stinks.
It's funny, too, because Ron grew up in a magical family. Okay, so he's had to have heard his parents doing some spells before, and he never thought, this doesn't sound like a Latin spell. Like,
It's not a real one. She mentions she is from a Muggle family, but has been doing lots of studying and introduces herself as Hermione Granger. And I like this because she says it all really fast, and Harry is comforted by the fact that Ron looks bewildered too. They introduce themselves. She has her, whoa, you're Harry Potter moment, says she's read some books with him in it and is like, you've read them, haven't you? He goes, no. She's like, I would have if that was me. And I like this scene because just moments before this, Ron was like, there's tons of Muggle-born kids. You'll be all right. Like, you're same level as them. And then Hermione comes in and immediately destroys that idea.
So much more about everything else. But I wondered, too, I'm like, Hermione, like, represents Ravenclaw, right? And me being a Ravenclaw is like, I'd be the same way. I'd just be like, there's so much to learn, and then you just read everything. But I think it's funny because Hermione probably overcompensated because she was a Muggle, because she didn't grow up in that world. And then so she's like, oh no, I have to read everything. So.
Yeah, these are all insecure little kids, like, of course. She says she hopes she ends up in Gryffindor, but she's like, Ravenclaw wouldn't be bad either. Harry and Ron talk about houses. Ron's family is all in Gryffindor. They both agree that they don't want to be in Slytherin. Anyway, Harry asks Ron about his two brothers and what do they do now that they're graduating. We learn that Charlie studies dragons and Bill works for the bank, which doesn't sound that cool, but later we learn he's a curse breaker. And that's pretty cool. And Ron remembers that somebody tried to rob Gringotts. Speaking of banks, Harry says, oh, what happened to him? Maybe he got sucked in and is stuck in a thing now. Ron says nothing. They haven't been caught. So I guess Gringotts isn't that safe, huh, Hagrid?
I know. My thing is like, okay, you failed to steal it. There was nothing there. But how'd you get out? You got there to realize there was nothing there, and then you got out without anybody noticing.
I got nothing.
Not very safe, are you, Gringotts?
There's a fanfic out there. Yeah. They start talking about Quidditch, and then more people show up. It's the blonde boy from Madame Malkin's, and two big boys with him. The blonde boy is like, yo, are you Harry Potter? Everybody been talking about it. I think it's you. He introduces his friends, Crabbe and Goyle, and then himself. He says his name is Draco Malfoy. Ron ticks him off by almost laughing at his name, and Malfoy basically says, shut up, broke ginger. Not nice. We love gingers here over at this podcast. Malfoy tries to get Harry to be his friend, but Harry rejects his offer. Malfoy makes a wild threat for an 11-year-old. He says, better be careful or you'll die just like your parents. It's like, holy frick, you're 11 years old. What the heck?
He went to, like, kind of being in awe of Harry and wanting him to his friend to be like, sucks, your parents are dead. Hope you don't die like them.
Not a good kid. This gets all the boys ready to fight, though, and Goyle goes to steal some of their candy because Malfoy's like, I see you guys have some candy. We want some. We ate all ours already. But he goes to Goyle goes to steal some of the candy, and then what happens? Scabbard to the rescue. He bites him. And one little rat is all that it takes to scare all these boys away because Goyle starts shaking his hand, rat goes flying. And it's funny when they pick up the rat, they're like, he's probably unconscious. And he's like, oh no, he's just sleeping. Like, he just went to sleep. But Hermione comes back in after all the boys have run away. Hermione comes in and is like, what the heck was all that racket? And they talk trash about Malfoy for a minute. Ron says his family has been on Voldy's side, they were on Voldy's side, but they came back, claimed that they were just bewitched. And everybody's skeptical about that. Also, Hermione says, what the heck? Also, he looks at Hermione, he's like, what the heck do you want? She says, y'all better get ready instead of fighting. And I like this. He says, Scabbers was the one who was fighting.
Not us.
Yeah. And also, you're a girl, so you got to leave because you can't see us changing. Makes me think of that scene in the fourth movie where Ron pulls up the covers. He's like, bloody hell. And she's like, fine. Also, you got dirt on your nose, so she owns him. They change.
In a sniffy voice.
That's right. So they change. They stuff all the candy in their pockets, get a little bit of sweets to go, and they get out of there. Outside, it's nighttime, and who shows up to collect all the first years? It's Hagrid. The first years go to school a different way than everybody else. Everybody else is right. Well, we don't know how they get in there yet, but we know. But the first years, they follow Hagrid to the lake, and we get the money shot of Hogwarts, you know, above the lake, looking all pretty and beautiful at night. And they get on the lake, they get in boats, they ride there in style.
Fleet.
Does it say fleet?
It says pointing to a fleet of little boats.
A fleet of 11-year-olds. Watch out, y'all. We get the shot of Hogwarts. It's all lit up at night over the lake. It's dope. Harry, Ron, Neville, and Hermione get in a boat together, and the boat's all set sail by magic. They go underneath the castle to an underground harbor. That also sounds dope, and not in Hogwarts Legacy. I want to see that.
It is. Have you not been there?
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
It's under the castle. It took me forever to find it.
Yeah, because in my head I was thinking about, I was like, did they replace it with just the boathouse? But no, that's not. It's two different places.
Yeah.
You're right. Hagrid finds Neville's toad in one of the boats. They get to the front doors of the castle. Hagrid goes, does a head count of everybody, makes sure they're all still there, makes sure Neville has his toad, knocks on the door 3 times, and that's the end of the chapter. And also, it's the second chapter I noticed that ends with Hagrid knocking on a door. That's not significant at all. I just wanted to point it out.
And he often does 3 times. Tapping on things 3 times, knocking on things 3 times.
All right, so that's the end of that chapter. But bam, we got through that pretty quick. Jessie, favorite lines from this chapter?
Well, I love the flying carpets remark that Vernon Dursley does. I love the, I'm not Fred, I'm George. Only joking. I am Fred. But then I think my favorite line is what we just read. Well, we didn't read it, but in the end of the chapter, Hagrid finds Neville's toad, right? And then he's like, all right, everyone here, you there, still got your toad. And then literally what happens next? Neville loses his toad again.
Is that what happens in the next chapter?
Yeah, so in the next chapter, remember? And I think they show this again. And they show this in the movie. But so he loses his toad. Yeah, and then he's like, Trevor! So he immediately loses his toad as they go to the Great Hall, and then he finds it again.
Silly boy. One of my favorites is when Harry's talking to Ron. He says, "Are all your family wizards?" asked Harry, who found Ron just as interesting as Ron found him. Mm-hmm. I like that line, that idea that Harry's like, I may be famous. I don't know exactly why, but you're pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Like all of you
and
are
wizards. It's just like the comparison of Harry is jealous of everything that Ron has, like a big, happy, normal, magical family. And then Ron is jealous of everything Harry has because here he is alone and famous. So he doesn't have his brothers and he's got his own fame.
Mm-hmm. My other favorite line was the description that it gave Neville. As they were, so when Hermione and Neville show up into the compartment, they ask for the toad, and then they leave. The way it says they leave, and she left, taking the toadless boy with her. So rather than saying Neville, it's just a toadless boy,
like the toothless walnut.
That's right. That's right. I have to Google what that looks like. And then my last favorite line. He supposed this was all part of entering the magical world, but had been a lot more comfortable saying Voldemort without worrying. That's right, because that was when people kept telling him to say you know who. Mm-hmm. And that's like the bravery there. He was like, I don't need to be afraid of saying it. It felt more normal just to say his name. It's like saying you know who makes it scarier, actually. Mm-hmm. It makes it, you give a reason to be afraid.
It's like just ominous and... Yeah. It's funny, too, because, like, Hermione grew up a muggle and didn't know she was supposed to fear the name, but she picks it up and always says, you know who.
Yeah,
it's just Harry that,
Mm-hmm. All right, those are all my favorite lines. You got any more?
No, I think that's...
Very cool. So then we'll hop to our Transfiguration section.
Reparo. Hello, everyone. This is it. The final time that I hop in to fix the Transfiguration section. Oh, so sad. Because I finally changed it after this one. So hopefully, you know the deal by now. Originally, the Transfiguration section was where me and my guests discussed what we would have changed about the chapter. Instead, I changed it later to what did the movies change from the books in this particular chapter. And that's what we are doing now. So what are the changes the movies made from the books? Good question, audience. I shall tell you. First of all, the scene where Fred and George help Harry load his trunk into the train and then later go back and tell the fam that they just met Harry never happens in the movie. It is omitted. And instead of Ron finding out that Harry is Harry from his brothers, he finds out that Harry is Harry from Harry. Got it? Next, there is a thing about Dumbledore's chocolate frog card that has changed in the movie scene. I won't say it here, though, because that's a little spoilery. Suffice it to say, if you know, you know. Also, in the movie, Neville and Hermione do not show up in the boys' compartment together. It's just Hermione, and she is not accompanied by the toadless boy, sadly. Finally, the whole Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle moment of all of them walking into Harry's compartment is also omitted, and that interaction does not take place in the movie. All right, that's all I got for the Transfiguration section. Back to the show, and we'll pick it back up with our Golden Snitch section, where we talk about lore, behind-the-scenes things, and Easter eggs.
All right, next one, our Golden Snitch. So my first one, Hedwig's name. So, he names it after he sees it in his textbook. I looked it up. It comes from some German witch named Saint Hedwig from the Middle Ages. And I could have sworn, I just finished playing Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone on Xbox, like the OG Xbox. And I could have sworn that Hedwig was a chocolate frog card. But I may be wrong. And I looked it up before this. I couldn't find it. It's somewhere out there because I wanted more info about that Hedwig girl. I couldn't find it. So I hate to disappoint listeners. My bad. The other Golden Snitch here is King's Cross Station. That's significant because that's where J.K. Rowling's parents met. It's like the journey began for them. Yeah. And that's why King's Cross is so important in the books here.
And I was about to say, wasn't the chapter title something like The Journey Began? But I don't
The Journey from Platform 9 of the Course. Yes. Very similar. And then prefects are a real thing. I took note of that.
I know. I looked that up too because all of this...
Did you look it up before this? Like just before this?
No, not just before this. Okay. Like a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it's funny because... Like, we're Americans. We don't have schools structured like this, but this is a very common, like, school structure in Britain, and they have, like, prefects and everything, and so it's like...
Head boys,
I thought that she had just, like, made up all this stuff, but no, it's just a British thing.
Yeah. Always the question, is it British or magic?
Yeah.
So, prefects are a thing, and then finally, my last Golden Snitch, we have Woodcroft. There's a mention on page 103. Soon he had not only Dumbledore and Morgana talking about his chocolate frog cards, but also Hengist of Woodcroft, and then a few other people. Hengist, forget Hengist. Don't care about Hengist. Sorry, Hengist. But Woodcroft is a place that you can go to in Hogwarts Legacy. I remember that. I forget what it's like, but I do remember that name is in there.
Hengist of Woodcroft may be one of the cards that I have, actually.
I wouldn't be surprised now that it's specifically named here. So anyway, that's our Golden Snitch section. Real quick, we're going to hop into our restricted section.
Ooh, I've been waiting for this.
I know. So I just had a few topics to cover, and we'll try not to take too long again because, baby, and I have another job. So we got to make a note. Restricted section. Everybody doesn't want spoilers. Get out of here. I'm assuming most people do.
I know. I'm like, anybody who is listening to this and hasn't read all the books and seen all the movies?
But you know what? I hope we get all of them.
Yeah.
So, but if you don't want spoilers, get out of here. Third floor corridors, off limits to all those who do not wish to die a most painful death. And that is the same here. So don't listen to this now. Now that we got only the veterans here. Professor Quirrell, when you read this book, were you aware, like that, not were you aware, but that first introduction to him, of him being kind of freaky, did that seem like enough to you? Like, did anything strike you as odd about him, like he might be bad?
What do you mean? Like, enough? Like, how?
How about, let me phrase it like this. Before the end of the book, did you ever think he was the bad guy? Before the twist?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I always thought Snape was a horrible dude, but I'm also the person like, that's too obvious. Let me find
Even as a kid?
Yeah, okay. Because I've always been, I grew up watching Scooby-Doo, okay? You never...
It's always the first person you meet in Scooby-Doo.
And another thing that I always wondered is, I was
Harry
like,
Potter rule too.
If Quirrell is such a coward, why is he teaching defense against the dark arts? And I just didn't buy it. I didn't buy his like little poor stuttering Professor Quirrell, And then there's also like the scene in the classroom where he's talking to no one, and then Harry thinks that it was Snape, but he doesn't have that proof, And so I read like Agatha Christie novels all the time, and then I try to figure out who done it. So I'm just that kind of person that I am like, Snape's too obvious, couldn't be him, and then and didn't buy Professor Quirrell's little stuttering fool trick.
Impressive. The other thing, there are dragons and Gringotts. They're hinted at. They're talked about. We only ever see one, but there is a dragon in there. And I didn't really have much else to say. I was just like, dragon, because I love dragons.
Yes.
They talk about how there's every witch or wizard. So it's said by Ron in the movies, but in the books, Hagrid's the one that says not a witch or wizard that went bad that wasn't in Slytherin.
And it's like, well, not true. There's some other baddies that are in other houses. I mean, for example, obvious one was Sirius Black. I mean, he's not bad, but at least in Hagrid's mind, he thinks Sirius Black is evil. Sirius was a Gryffindor. So that worked, that everybody thinks was Voldemort's right-hand man. So that notion is already, I guess, just wrong. But we do know from the rest of the series, there's plenty of bad people. Gilderoy Lockhart, Wormtail, all these people. Oh, I thought this was interesting. I think that Dumbledore fixed Hagrid's wand. Because we know that you can't just mend a wand. Wands don't get mended.
It's broken,
that happens with Harry's. They try to fix it. It doesn't work with Hermione's wand. But Hagrid's wand does work inside of the umbrella. It's hidden in there. And the only thing that healed Harry's wand in the book was Dumbledore's elder wand. Like the boss wand that repaired it. And so I was like, oh my goodness. That had to be what happened with Hagrid. Because they did snap it. So it had to be Dumbledore who fixed it. And I'm wondering, did Hagrid ever be like, that's kind of odd? Or I guess he was just like, Dumbledore's just great.
Well, and we know that because Dumbledore knew the whole time that he was suspicious of Tom Riddle, and so he didn't think that it was Hagrid. So, of course, he felt bad that he had to take the fall for it and get expelled and get his wand broken and everything. So it makes sense. But, yeah, that's a good point, that the only wand that can repair other wands is the Elder Wand.
Yeah. Two more. One is that when Harry waves his wand, it shoots red and gold sparks. You're like, that's the right one. And I was wondering, red and gold, we know he gets sorted into Gryffindor. There's the colors of Gryffindor. I was like, I wonder if you find your right wand, is that like a sign for everybody, red and gold? Or will it shoot off colors more specific to you?
I don't think so, because I look at it as when they're going through the Forbidden Forest and they as a sign of come save me, they just shoot red sparks from their wand. And then again in the fourth book when they go into the maze, it's also shoot up sparks from your wand. And so I feel like that's just a default base magic of I need help, red sparks from the wand.
And when you're playing Hogwarts Legacy, your basic cast shoots red.
It's red.
Okay, that makes sense. Forget that theory then. Last one, Hagrid's drinking problem.
Yeah.
It's for real.
Alcoholic Hagrid.
Alcoholic Hagrid. It gets him in trouble so much, and he gives away so many things. We see it later in the book. I should not have said that. It's funny, as a kid, I never thought about that. When I read this book, when I went through it, I never thought, oh, Hagrid has a drinking issue. I just glossed over it, didn't even grasp the significance of that. And so, later, it's because he drinks, he ends up, giving away a secret about Fluffy and a bit about the Sorcerer's Stone. So, did you have any other thoughts? Anything else?
No, I had a thought that there's some serious foreshadowing, but it's actually in the next chapter. It wasn't in this one. But I remember there's something that Dumbledore said that I was like, oh, whoa, that's huge foreshadowing. But obviously, I won't talk about that because it's in the next chapter.
What is it?
I don't know. I'm trying to find it now. He says something. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you and circle back and tell you about that.
Yeah. I had a great time here.
Yes.
So we'll have you back on for sure. Yeah. Well, that's all we got. That was chapter 6, the journey from platform 9 3/4. I had a fantastic time. Jessie, thank you so much for being here. It was awesome. I asked Emily, she had stuff. I asked Plotter, he didn't really, but is there anything you just want to say here at the end? Do you want to shout anything out? I don't know if you're a big social media person, want to plug your social media. I don't know. Is there anything you want to mention?
No, nope. I'm just a huge fan of the books. I love reading, and this is the book series that started me wanting to be a writer and write and just love reading. And it's sad, though, I will say that J.K. Rowling has ruined me because I've never found books that I love more than the Harry Potter series. And it's just so sad because I'll try to read a new book and I'll be like, it's just not as good. But I mean, obviously there's different genres and everything, but I've just never found a book that I think to be more magical than Harry Potter. So,
well, thank you so much for being on here. This was fantastic. I had a great time. Listeners, thank you for listening. And I don't have any catchphrase or anything to end it, so
you're gonna have to come up with
I know. Well, this will be the part where I add something here at the end. Anyway, yay, we did it. Bye, everybody. Yay! Wasn't that a wonderful episode? Give it up for Jessie. She's just fantastic. One thing she didn't say, though, right there at the end when I asked her if she wanted to plug anything, was that she herself is a published author. Well, okay, maybe she did say something about being an author, but she never told us what the name of her book was. So if you want to check out her book, it's on Amazon. You can, it's under the name Die Young in the Wild, and wild is spelled all cool with an E at the end, WILDE. So yeah, Die Young in the Wild under the name J. Salt Marlowe. It's a great book. Hope you can check it out on Kindle or paperback. You got two options. That's how great she is. So yeah, that's all we got. And I'll catch y'all next week. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to Retold. Artwork for this podcast was created by Rachel Ortlip. Music was created by Taylor Jarvis. And the Retold podcast is produced by me. That's right. I made this.